Hello, Emerson. As you know, each year there are some great teachers saying, "See you later," to the profession they have dedicated themselves to. This year is no different. Though the year is not ending how anybody would like, we wanted to recognize all the wonderful retirees that will be moving on to the next life chapter. So that brings us to the first installment of our WEMS series, Get to Know a Retiree. Without further ado, let's meet our first guest. Miss Swain, thank you for taking the time to sit down with me this morning. I know it's been a weird last couple months, weird trimester, but thank you for taking the time to sit down and answer some questions about your teaching career.
Well, and I thank you for doing this, Mr. Lawson, because, I thought back over my 34 years as a teacher, and this is really helping in this time, to bring some closure to my career. So I really appreciate it also. Thank you.
Oh, of course, of course. So you mentioned 34 years you've been a teacher. I guess my first question is, why? Why did you become a teacher?
I thought about it when I was in fifth grade. My parents had a blackboard in the basement, and the people that really know me, I taught my sister how to do math. I am not a math person, and my kids are probably laughing at me right now. But I just realized how fun it was to watch somebody understand something and the look in their face. And when they go, "Oh, I get it," and they don't even have to say anything. That's what lured me in, and loving young people. Those were the two things.
Were you always a teacher?
I had jobs in the retail world before I started. I also worked as a camp counselor, but I started when I was 21 years old teaching high school at Wheaton Central, which District 200. And then I taught a year there, realized high school wasn't for me. Then I went to District 54 in Schaumburg for 3 years. Loved middle school. They called it junior high back then. And then I interviewed at Lincoln because they were riffing a whole mess of teachers. And I loved what I did. And so I wanted to continue, and I found a job at Lincoln Middle School, taught there for 8 years. And then we had the opportunity to open Emerson. So then I came over there.
Ah, nice. So you're one of the originals, huh?
Yes, I am. You could tell by my gray hair.
Did you always teach just science or anything else? I guess that's a big question for me. I know.
I did originally, I started as a science teacher, but then in, our elective program, we were asked to do some other things. I taught math lab for a couple of years. I taught health for a couple of times. Social studies came up because we had a 3-room team. So I did that for 2 years, but mostly I have been a science teacher.
I believe marine bio is your big elective.
Yes.
And everyone who's taken it or been around that class knows the shed field trip. How did that start? And what's your favorite thing to see there?
Well, Mrs. Merges, who she and I share a classroom, she came on board 4 years after I was at Lincoln, and she and I got together. We wanted to revamp the then, I think it was just called biology at that point, but we did a lot of different things. And we wanted to switch it up a little bit and focus more on the ocean. And so we had this great opportunity with the ocean being not really readily available, but available to us at the shed. And so we wanted to start this field trip. And so we had at one point 3 school buses going down to the shed aquarium. We have done that trip. This would have been our 75th go around this semester or trimester, sorry. And we have done all kinds of trips there. But I think my favorite would be when she and I would go down early and we stood in front of the penguin tank. I'm a sea otter buff for sure, but I specifically remember us doing that. And what was cool about it was as we stood there for upwards of 15, 20 minutes, we saw that the animals, the penguins, all took on human characteristics. And so, like we started picking out colleagues ourselves. It was really in friends, family. It was a blast watching their mannerisms. So, that really, I tell that story every time before we went to the shed. I'm just glad that we were able to take the kids to do a hands-on experience in a place where we don't readily have the ocean available. So it was a great experience for the kids, and we loved it every time we went.
Overall, in science or marine bio, whatever it is, what's your favorite subject or content to teach in that subject? What was the favorite thing to teach?
It's not so much the units that I taught, but the last few years I had the opportunity to work with Mrs. Nobling over at Lincoln. And, I always wanted to be the kind of teacher that wasn't in the forefront, that I could stand in the back and let the kids collaborate, work together, talk to each other. My science room was never quiet, but it was good talking. It was science talking. And I would get goosebumps in the back listening to the conversations. Remember when we did this? Think about that. The kid, I wanted my students to apply anything that we did, anything, and be able to talk about it with somebody else. And so, I learned over the years, it's not so much what you taught, but it's how you deliver the message, and then taking that step back and watching everybody collaborate with each other.
As you kind of look back on where you've gone, what's your advice to students?
Don't ever let anyone tell you you can't do something. And I love that in the movie Happiness when he says, even me. And I believe that, even me. I wish I could have shown that movie for different reasons. You can't now, but to my graduating eighth graders every single year, because it really epitomized how I felt. And the other piece of advice that I would share with them often was do something you love every day. Have your job be something you look forward to doing, not just something you're getting a paycheck from.
Any advice that you have for newer teachers?
My dad, the first day I went off to teach, told me that they're people. Nothing's going to go the way you expect. Always remember that. And I kept that in my head forever. So I would also, pay that, share that with everybody. My mom taught me fairness. Be as fair as you possibly can to everybody you come in contact with. Don't pick favorites. And I never liked when people did that anyway, because then if I wasn't that favorite, we all know how that feels. It's like, well, they don't care. So I wanted all my kids to know that I really cared about them. Respect. We all want to be respected. And if you have to redirect, as I like to call it, somebody, be respectful of their feelings and not do it in front of the class, not get so upset. And if you do it in front of the class, or something you do is not, you don't feel good about it, don't have so big of an ego that you can't apologize. Because you know what? We're humans and we're going to make mistakes. And I know that this has been an adjustment. In the beginning, I had to adjust and I had to make some apologies because of the way I was trying to do what I did in the room and it just wasn't working out. So it's been an adjustment for us all. But I think this particular situation shows we have to be compassionate. Look at the kids first and their feelings and emotions. And then we can always, we're not just teaching subject, in other words. Look, if they need a modification or they need a helping hand, do that first, because then I think, people are motivated then to do the best they can if they know that you care about them.
What would you leave behind for a brand new teacher to use?
Laughter. Be able to go with the flow, be open-minded, and laugh and love your job and your kids. And that's really, I do hope I leave my laughter behind at Emerson, that people, we had many a lunch together, Mr. Lawson.
Yeah.
Things would be funny. And laughter enabled me to go back into the room at this particularly rough time, because things don't always go the way we want them to. Taking the time to sit and talk to colleagues, to kids, to our bosses, when something doesn't go right or when something is going right. I think both ways. I've tried to do that throughout my career, thanking people, and some people get embarrassed by it, but I just, those are the qualities I really look for in people in general.
Again, we'll go down memory lane. What are some great memories with staff, whether Emerson, Lincoln, Wheaton, wherever? Some things, obviously, that you would say would be good memories. What are some instances of those?
I think one of the specific people that I had a blast with was Mrs. Cohen over at Lincoln. And the reason being is we were always picking on each other, laughing and practical jokes. And, we just had a ball. And a lot of the people I worked with over the years, that's what it was for me, was, the laughter again. I just think that we need to laugh a lot every day. And, because life is supposed to be fun too. Yeah, it's our job, and yeah, the students have their part, we have our part, but I really think that that's what I will walk out remembering, is all those little moments, either with groups of people, individuals, that fun laughter, belly laughing, where you just really let it go. And I hope that those are the memories that I'm going to take with me, and I hope that those last for others as well.
Was there a class that was your favorite? Maybe a student in particular, or just a whole group of students, maybe like your first year, your last year, your, whatever, or just made it memorable. Not saying anything about the other ones, just one that'll stick out in your mind, I guess.
My first year was, I had some interesting kids there that, I still think about. Those of you that could be watching this, you know who you are. I don't like to ever name names or groups, but I think your first, because of, teaching and being nervous about it and how it's going to come off, always will stick in your mind. These last 2 years, because it is my last 2 years, but I would also say every team that I worked with is special to me for a lot of different reasons. And every kid, when I was teaching, not, high school, and, when it was junior high and not middle school the way we know it today. And, I guess I took something from every single situation that I was in. But, I wish I could see my kids today. I wish that we could spend these last 2 months together. I don't want to get choked up about that, but it is difficult leaving education, teaching off of a computer. And, so that I'm sad about. I'm excited to hear some of the end of the year things and things that might happen that will allow us to see faces again. That makes me very happy. So, but yeah, I took something from I don't have my own kids, but I had thousands of kids over the years, and that makes me very happy.
Looking back now, I want to shift gears a touch to get away from kind of the history of you teaching, what's your favorite thing to teach, and some questions maybe more about you specifically. Where are you from?
Well, I was actually born in Akron, Ohio, and hence the Buckeyes. And we moved to Illinois. My dad had to move because of business when I was 3. And my grandmother and I were very, very tight. And I cried the whole way to Illinois. We had to call to make sure that she was still there because I thought I would never see her again. It was really tough in the beginning, but I've always been here ever since. And my sister was actually born in Illinois. We're 4 years apart.
Oh, okay. Okay. So what kind of things do you like to do outside school? I mean, the kids don't always get to see or hear about teachers outside school. They think they live there. Clearly you don't live in the school. What do you like to do outside of school for fun?
Well, I am an avid golfer. I love golf. I joined a golf league a few years back. I love the ladies in the golf league. I've gotten to be really close friends with many of them. I love to garden. First and foremost, I love traveling. Just being outside in nature, science teacher, for sure. But I just love that feeling when you feel really small because you're watching this huge, the Tetons or maroon bells or something and just taking it all in. And it's just like you feel really tiny out there. So it's just really cool.
So I take it you plan to travel quite a bit in retirement. Are there any other things you plan on doing? Like, have you kind of thought about it?
I'm a breast cancer survivor, and one of the things I really wanted to do is to be available to sit and listen to people in general about cancer, not even specifically breast cancer, but because, it's a tough thing to be diagnosed. It's probably the hardest thing that people ever really hear. And so I want to do something in that regard. I don't know what it will look like, but I talk to my oncologist still, and I want to be able to do something that way. I definitely want to help people. I still have that desire to give back. I want to, yes, I want to buy an RV and travel across the United States. That's been traveling across the United States has been a dream of mine forever. But I do want to give back to people. I just feel that underlying need to, in some capacity, to be available to people to help. But
Yeah.
like I said, even in my retirement, it's going to be people. I mean, if you see somebody in an RV talking their head off with their hands moving all over the place, it's probably me.
If you weren't a teacher, what would you have been?
I've thought about this many times. I can't, it would have to be something where I was with people. But I never wanted to be anything else.
I think you mentioned it, but just again, what's the biggest thing you're going to miss?
Oh, absolutely, the kids and my colleagues.
Thank you so much for joining me in the first installment of Better Know a Retiree. I don't know if that's what the name's going to be, but the first installment of the series of Better Knowing, and kind of almost like an exit interview for our fantastic retiring teachers. I really appreciate it, and I know I speak for the kids and the staff when I say we're definitely going to miss everything Miss Swain brings. Her just love of the kids and teaching and science, and just wanting to make kids better every day, and the laugh. We'll miss it all, but we wish you luck, and nothing but good years ahead of you. So thank you for joining me, and I'm sure we'll cross paths at some point.
I hope so, Mr. Lawson. And I wish, sorry, Bulldogs, that I couldn't have told you this myself face to face. I had planned on doing that in May, and I'm sorry you have to learn this way, but that this will be my last year. But I want you to know how special you all are to me. The staff, I'm going to get choked up, but thanks for so many great years, so many memories, and I wish you all well, both kids and staff. Hang in there. I don't know what the fall will look like. Nobody does, but you know what? I'm so glad I went to Emerson because the people there put kids first, and that's where I wanted to be. So thank you very much.
All right. Well, thank you very much, Miss Swain, and good luck in everything that you have ahead of you.
Thank you so much.
Of course. Anytime.
Happy retirement, Miss Swain.
Hi, my name's Michelle Check. I had Miss Swain from the years 1990 to 1992 at Lincoln Junior High. She was my homeroom teacher, and every day before science class, one of us would hide in her classroom and she'd have to find us. So it was such a great way to start the class. We had a wonderful time with her. She always made us laugh. She always made science fun. And she is my favorite part of my middle school, junior high experience. I just want to say to you, Miss Swain, congratulations, and best of luck to you. You made a big difference in my life, and if I could hug you, I could. But thank you, and good luck in everything that you do from now on.
Thank you, Ms. Swain, for 2 amazing years of science. You were such a great teacher, and we're going to miss you so much, and enjoy your next adventure.